Welcome, everyone, and welcome to It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite the possibilities that are all around us. And today I'm so honored and blessed to have my friend Linda Vasquez. If I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your name before I jumped into here. But Linda, we'll just keep it at that. You can introduce yourself here in a momento. And I'm just so great to have that opportunity to have met you. We started talking one of my favorite subjects, which of course is money. And then what was really cool is we started talking, and there's actually a code to cracking, knowing, understanding your money, understanding. There's all these little things that Linda's going to share with us and have an opportunity. And it's really, really interesting. So I am just grateful that you took a little bit of time out. And normally we have some folks coming in here live, so if people come in and out, so we'd love you to go ahead and just make a comment here. Let us know that you come in and took a look at it, and you got a special gift for us at the end too. So we're going to make sure that is posted out there, and a very special surprise for you, because it's really cool when you start understanding how to crack your money code. So Linda, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and kind of share with us a little bit who you are and what this money code's all about.
Thank you for having me, Janet. The first time I talked to you, I felt like we have been friends for a long time. It was just kind of like an instant
Mm-hmm.
connection. And so I am also very honored to be a part of your podcast or Facebook Live. And so I'll tell you just a little bit about my background. I'm a money mindset mentor and coach and speaker. And I got really excited when I learned about these money codes. They're actually the sacred money archetypes. And although there's a lot of archetypes in the world, we focus just in the eight sacred money archetypes. And so when you understand your archetypes, you can
Mm-hmm.
have a better relationship with money. Money actually becomes more of your friend than your foe.
Novel concept.
And that money is a form of an energy and that we can welcome it into our life. So if you want, I can explain a little bit more about
I was going to say
archetypes.
that would be good because I'm not sure that everybody kind of knows what an archetype is in general, let alone a money archetype. But in general, what is an archetype?
Okay, so an archetype is like a universal pattern of energy or thoughts or feelings, and they speak through our unconscious. And so often, there are the foundations of our feelings and our beliefs and our motivations and our fears and our anxieties and our drive. But often, because they're in our unconscious, we are not aware of them. And so
Okay.
how that works is that they're working inside of us, and it's I don't want to get too deep into the subject, but archetypes reside in the collective unconsciousness, which means what everybody has access to. But however, our archetypes work through us, and so each archetype has a positive and a shadow side. And so the positive side works for us, and the shadow side, it's not always that it's so negative, it's that we don't know about it. Have you ever just got up and had like a set of goals that you were going to do that day, and by the end, you didn't do any of them, but you didn't know why?
Now we might know. So that's what you're
Yes.
saying is these archetypes kind of help us to know, just like personalities. We all have certain personalities that we naturally respond in a way or another. Doesn't mean we can't change that, but if we know how we're going to respond in a certain situation, then we can actually maybe react better or more conscious about that, because once we know about it, then we can make, if they need to be corrective. So if we're fighting that shadow side of it, we could take those corrective actions, just like kids. And you kind of put them out there, and you understand if you have a strong-willed kid, you know very much, if you've ever dealt with strong-willed kids, the minute you confront them, you're on for a fight. But if you can find a way to take a step back and say, okay, here's your choice, one or two.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to argue with you, but here's the deal, one or two, you pick. 9 times out of 10, it's going to go. But it's just kind of like the archetype. So if you know that going into it, you can adjust or be prepared for some of it. That kind of about sum that up a little bit generally.
That is for someone else, but often that same fight happens in
And
ourselves.
that's where I was going. Exactly. And we
Yes,
don't know
it
why.
happens in ourself.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to give you just a quick
Yeah.
example of an archetype. Think about Superman.
Okay.
So Superman is a hero archetype.
Hmm.
And so you don't have to explain to people when you say
Exactly.
hero. They already have a set that they're caring, they're strong, they race
Hmm.
in when everybody races out, we can rely on them. So immediately when you hear hero, you don't even have an explanation. And so archetypes also present in fairy tales, like the
Okay.
wicked queen. So the minute I say wicked queen, what do you think of?
Somebody who's not very nice, to be gentle, and is looking out not for others' best interest
Hmm.
and things like that, that they're looking to push, like almost they want their way, only their way, so it's that more negative type deal.
So that's an archetype that you know kind of
Hmm.
immediately. If you say wicked queen or hero to anyone, they know exactly what
Hmm.
you're talking about. And so there are those eight money. So there's hundreds of archetypes, but that's way too much. So we're going to
Absolutely.
focus on just the eight archetypes that are working through us and think of an archetype, even these eight, as impersonal, kind of like, let's say several people are baking cookies,
Okay.
and the archetype is the cookie cutter. Looks the same for everybody. That's what makes it impersonal. What makes it personal is some may bake chocolate cookies with it, some may bake sugar cookies, some may bake oatmeal cookies. So the general shape is the same, but how they work through us and appear in our life can be present a little bit differently.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. And these particular ones that you're talking about are all about money and understanding how we react ourselves. Because too often it's so much easier to see it in somebody else. It is way harder to see it in ourselves a lot of times.
It is. It's even me, I find it hard
Mhm.
sometimes to go, okay, who's I actually talk to my archetypes. Let me let me give you an example of a entrepreneurs who are in the healing coaches.
Mhm.
um, they have a nurturer archetype. So that is a very strong one. And that nurture archetype, you will kind of see it, on the news when you have the doctors and the nurses risking their lives to save people, even at that's a real extreme version of what a nurturer does. And so they're caring and they're giving to almost a fault.
Okay.
And a nurture type of uh, archetype finds it almost impossible to charge what their services are
Their
worth.
worth.
So when they're on a sales conversation, I'm sorry, those are my dogs in the
It's all
background.
right. They're flexing their archetypes too. It's all good.
I have tried everything to keep them quiet, but of course they knew I needed them quiet, so there they are.
Of course. Kids.
Um, so uh, what happens is when they're on a sales conversation and they just want to give their services away, or they care more about their clients' finances, and they just can't do it. And so what's so powerful, if you know that about yourself, then you can kind of say, hey, my nurture archetype is here. And you can actually have a conversation saying, okay, um, I need to be included into the people that I take care of. And so I need
True.
to take care of myself in order to help others. And so that, does that make sense?
It does to me, and I'm hoping for the audience as well as they're listening to this. As I said, we've got all different reactions to things, and that's kind of what we're trying to understand is when we're working our business, when we're charging what we are worth, it does make a difference. And sometimes it's really difficult to know we do it so easy, so we don't
Mm-hmm.
value it as much, but we are a valuable resource to folks. And we need to know that, and we need to make sure we're accounting for that. And that is a great point to know that. Even if you take it back to just spenders and savers, that's opposite extremes pretty quickly. And I know they have archetypes out there because I tend to be both of. I'm weird. It's all good. Because I know we're going to
Mm-hmm.
sneak into that here in a few minutes. But if you think of it that way, spending and saving. So I could save so much that I never do anything and I never invest in my business, which is not going to help me to grow. Or I can spend everything and not have anything, and all of a sudden I'm in debt and I can't control things. So kind of similar
Yes.
type deal.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about your experience. You did take the
I did. Our little
Sacred
gift.
Money archetype, and we have each of these come, these are your three. You've got the accumulator, the maverick, and the ruler, which um, even that you do tend to spend, they're still pretty good at money. So it's so natural that you would go into this type of profession. But do you want to share some of your experiences with
Sure.
the accumulator, which is the saver, the maverick, which is the risk taker, and the ruler, which is a business builder?
Absolutely. And what's really cool, and that's a little sneak peek on the surprise that Linda has for everybody that's listening in on this. We are going to be posting you a link that you get to go do this yourself too. So that link is going to be in the comment section for you to check out. And you actually kind of go figure out what your archetypes are and kind of go from there. So she sent me this link ahead of time. I got a sneak peek of it and had an opportunity to kind of go see. And I know I'm odd. I just have just accepted that a long time ago. And I know a lot of that comes my parents. I had one that was a spender, one that was a saver. And I'm literally down the middle of these guys. And that has been on many characteristics as I look back over the years, which is kind of fun. But you would think accumulator and maverick are complete opposites, but in some ways they complement too. And I think by knowing, naturally I'm a saver. There is no doubt about that. I am a natural saver. I will save. That's just who I am. And over the years, I think what I was learning is I need to spend wisely. So if I know that it is a good investment in order for, and my husband tends to be the spender, I'm the saver. So it's amazing how opposites attract. But over the years, I think what's allowed me to work through is, okay, yes, I am a saver, so that when I need to spend it, I have it. So I think that was one of the insights as I started looking in here, because as you said, there's positive and negative, or what do you want to say, positive and shadow, whatever you want to refer it to, that are natural, instinctive. Like I will hold on pretty quickly, and I will save pretty quickly unless it's something that I feel is a good investment. And then I don't question it. I go ahead and I spend it and I figure out how to get it paid for because I have that plan in place. And that very well may be kind of where the ruler comes in and balances the two out a little bit and says, okay, here's where we're going. Let's make sure we have all of this working together the way it should. So I think it was really cool that what I do naturally for my clients and kind of actually was explained in the archetypes as we really sat down and looked at what the strengths of each archetype were and what the shadows were, because they're all fighting each other. And by understanding it, then it allows me to make better decisions going forward. It also helps me to understand my clients better too.
Well, you are amazingly insightful. Usually when I give the readings, people are going, really? Really? Oh my God. Oh my
Oh,
God.
I'm not
I have
normal.
had people going, how do you know this? Yes. How do you know that? How do you know this? But you are naturally self-reflective and you just got it right away. And so that's interesting with your husband. So it is interesting to
Mhm.
give your partner or customers or clients,
Mhm.
because you must run into people that don't want to talk about money at all. They
Mhm.
want nothing to do with it. They want you to take care of it. They don't want to think about it.
Yep.
And you might say, well, that's irresponsible, but actually, that's an archetype. Because
Yep.
someone who is a connector, which is my eighth archetype, these are people who walk into a room, can connect with people, love people, heart, they're
Professional
just
networker is their
amazing.
ideal job. If they could just network and make money at it, that's their job.
And they can, but the other side of them, they don't want to talk about money.
Right.
They don't want to think about money. They don't even know how much money that they make. And if it was up to them, it isn't that their connections do draw, but
Absolutely.
they can be taken advantage of. If they're with people that mismanage their money, and it's very difficult for them. So if they understood that an archetype is working through them, and instead of feeling bad about themselves, they can just say, oh, that's why I feel the way I do. That's just going for me. And then we give them choice. Because you're right, what you said before, awareness gives us choice. So, and when you have a partner that one spends, there is another archetype, the romantic, that just is a pleasure seeker, and they want to have fun and they want to spend, and spending money is not a problem. They don't think about saving. So if you have an accumulator, one partner, and a pleasure seeker as another, it is what you just said. What if you knew that the person, um, what if you knew it wasn't personal? Like sometimes when people do behaviors that I've asked them not to do, I take it personally. Like, you're just doing that.
It
I
irritates
already
me.
went there with you 20 times. But what if that's not the case at all? What if it's just
They're
their
natural.
archetype
Yep.
running and it's a natural thing, and that's who they are.
And as I mean, that's one of the examples I'll give a lot of times as I'm talking to folks is between my husband and I throw him under the bus all the time. It's okay. But no, not really. What it ended up happening is I often tell the story of when we first got married. He was his truck driver, so he got paid by the load, coal truck driver. So, in his mind, we had feast or famine because that's just the industry. So there was months we had made great money. There was months there was no money. And, he was talking to some guys and it was kind of interesting. And he come back and he's like, I I'm making more money. I should get more because I did this thing called an allowance, as he pegged it, which I was a salaried employee. So in other words, that meant I got the same doggone paycheck whether I worked 40 hours, which I never seemed to do, or 70, which I typically did. But I knew what my paycheck was going to be. So I did our budget or that plan off of what I was bringing in and an average of his. So we're all good. So I gave him his allowance based upon that. And that's what he pegged it. Everything else had to go to the checking account, and I gave him his money. I didn't question that money. That's how we worked it out. I had, let's say, we use $100 for simplicity. I got $100. He got $100. Neither one of us questioned the other one on it. That was your money to go whatever you want. The rest of it had to go for bills. So, okay, fine. Well, he's bringing all these nice little paychecks in during the summer months because that was our peak time. And he's like, I should be getting more. I said, really? Yeah, because I was talking to somebody. It's always fun when they talk to their friends. Okay. Especially when those friends are coal truck drivers and they just, not quite thinking this through the way I do. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And we had a nice little conversation. I'm like, well, I don't have a problem with that. But just keep in mind, I will gladly increase your allowance in these months. Just realize that in the winter, when you don't have a paycheck, it goes to zero. And he's like, no, wait, what? I'm like, the choice is yours. You just let me know how you want to go. Then I tend to walk away. And he came back pretty quickly and decided that, you know what, your way might be okay because he gets the same amount no matter what month it was. And he knew that. He's like, I always get the same amount. And I'm like, exactly. So you let me know how you want to go. And we've used that same pretty much for the last 30 years.
Well, you're lucky
Amazing how
because
that works. He worked with me, but we found a way to work it. And that's half the battle because I knew his natural instincts, my natural instincts, how could we pull the strengths out of both? And that works for teams too, for entrepreneurs. Surround yourself with complementary folks and find a solution down the middle.
Yeah, that's so funny. My husband and I did the same
Same
thing.
thing.
He's not as much as he's not as opposite as I am, as you two, but we found that that works, except when we don't want to spend our own money and we spend the joint money. That doesn't work out too well. But also, something else that you mentioned, you usually work 70 hours. Well, the ruler archetype,
Hmm.
they're workaholics.
Oh, that pegs me in a heartbeat.
And to the point, well, in our society, we're kind of rewarded for being a workaholic or being busy all the time.
Yep.
So, but that really could be, I'm not saying for you, I'm just going to say
No,
for
just
rulers
be
in
aware.
general,
Absolutely.
can neglect their families
You connect your health
and,
too. And
and
I
their
am guilty of
health.
that.
And also, one thing, and I think I mentioned this to you in our reading together, is maybe we should rethink that working ourselves silly in order to get money doesn't have to be that way. It can be different. There's a lot of people that are successful who have cut down because part of the reason they went into business was to have freedom. And if
Hmm.
you're working 70 hours, that's not freedom. And if you're undercharging and overworking, that isn't what you went in. Most people went into business for.
No.
And so freedom, so to rethink, I don't know if you had any time to rethink that, but maybe just open to a possibility that there's another way of doing it.
Absolutely. Well, and the sad part is it took me hitting into the ICU to wake me up because I just worked. I knew it had to get done, so I got it done. The only problem is your body will give out eventually. You just cannot go that far. And it took me to hit ICU with bleeding ulcers to figure that out.
You're probably not alone in that.
I
But
doubt
isn't
that I
it
am.
amazing when we're hit all of a sudden, I can't stop working, I can't stop working. Yes, I can. Health, my life,
Hmm.
all of a
Yeah, I didn't do much
sudden
for
you
4 months
rethink
because I
it
couldn't.
and you might, I'm not saying you, but people might be doing things that are not necessary, not the highest priority, or perfectionist. That was mine, perfectionist. So
Absolutely.
how many more hours did I put because I was worried a comma
Had
wasn't
to
in the
be
right
exact.
place
I,
or something,
I
reading
chased that
things
penny.
over? Pardon?
I chased a penny very often. And there's a point where you say, enough's enough. The penny is not worth it.
You are right, even because I do have an accumulator as my third archetype, and I would chase a penny
Oh,
in
yeah.
my checking book. And then you know what I decided? If it's under a few dollars, I force the balance. I just force it to rebalance itself because balancing is important, but I don't have to do it. And if it's $5 or less, I used to do the penny, now I'm at $5. And I just force the balance. It's balanced in my checkbook and I can move on. And how many
Right.
hours did that save?
Now, if it happens all the time, you might have a process issue that you want to fix. But yeah,
Yeah.
but we do different things like that. But
Yeah.
absolutely, you got to weigh that plus and minus. What makes sense? How much is your time worth at this point in the
Hmm.
game? And I think that kind of was
Yeah.
helpful when I worked for a corporation. When you have a $10 million balance sheet, $1,000 is nothing. Now, if you have a balance sheet that is only 10,000, $1,000 will make a big difference. And I think that kind of sets
No.
it into priorities as well. That was kind of odd as I got into a bigger corporation. Like they didn't care about $1,000. $1,000. I'm like, wait, what? Initially, that was
Yeah.
tough, but it goes right back to exactly what you're saying.
Well, it was
So,
my personal checkbook. And I
yeah,
looked, and if
I'll
you're
chase
right,
a penny in a heartbeat.
if I saw a trend of being
Yeah,
off, that's a different subject
right.
than just simple addition and subtraction.
Exactly. And it makes sense. What is your time truly worth? And I had to learn even on my personal because I'd chase a penny for hours. And finally, like, it's a penny. Come on, enough. This happens once in a blue moon. Enough. Put the penny in the count or the penny out. Go find one.
But see, that's when you can say your archetype, your
Hmm.
accumulator, is over functioning,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And you cannot even blame it on yourself. You can
No,
blame it on your
I see. Now you get to
archetype.
blame somebody else. It's great.
Yeah, just blame it on your archetype, and we don't even have to take it. No, but I do talk to them, and even archetypes that are less like the celebrity archetype, where people want attention and everything like that. I've kind of taken this concept a little bit further. We all have all 8 archetypes. So
Hmm.
before this interview, I said, okay, celebrity archetype, I think it's time for you to come up
And you're doing great.
and let it kind of take over that maybe I like attention. Maybe I can get into this.
Well, we go and have fun, and that's one thing that I thoroughly
Yeah.
encourage, and I want to encourage everyone. And that's what the whole purpose of It's Time to Excel is we're looking to figure out how we can just inspire and ignite possibilities because each of us have them, but sometimes we're in the weeds so far we can't see them. And this gives us a chance to work together, and so both of us can grow and rely on the strengths of each other. And it was really cool being able to do that. And that is the gift that you have for everybody. So you guys that are listening in have this an opportunity. As I said, it's going to be in the comments section, and you're going to be able to figure out what your archetypes are and follow up and actually, and I think you have an extra, you'll actually talk to them a little bit and actually help them understand that with a call too, I believe, is an extra gift that you're willing to do
Yeah.
for these guys.
Well, what I have is a kind of a little 3-step process that you click on the link and just put your name and email. Then you'll be sent an automatic email with the quiz. You take the quiz, which is free, and then you'll get a access to a summary of all the 8 archetypes. And if you'd like to go further, there's a free 30-minute um, mini session where we're going to focus on your primary archetypes because your top 3 archetypes have the most influence on you, and your number 1 has the greatest impact.
And understanding that allows you to make better decisions, not just in your personal finances, but in running your business, and even more so, the way you interact with everybody around you, whether that's family, your team, or your potential clients and referral partners. And that's what I think is the really big power of understanding these archetypes, because once you understand it, you can work with them. And I think that's the main thing. And if I come back and there's sometimes, I mean, I tend to be extremely transparent. I'm pretty direct. Anybody knows me knows I'm pretty direct. And sometimes I have to think about who I'm talking because that could really steamroll over some folks and it be construed as me coming across too harsh or whatever. And it's those types of things when you're aware of it and you start reading other folks, being aware of all these archetypes allows me to interact more effectively and efficiently with those that are around me. So I think that was my biggest thing about understanding that. So, and I'm so grateful. So you guys need to go check out the comments and take full advantage of this because this is an awesome gift from Linda that she's willing to do for us because she wants you to excel. She wants to ignite and inspire the possibilities that are in you so that you can grow and you can move forward and you can actually have a good relationship with money because that's, you know, there is a code to it. And once you understand it, it becomes just that, a code. It's not going to take over your life. It's going to be a code for you to move forward. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Because we're wrapping up here. Is there anything else you'd like to say to
You
everybody?
did a great summary. That's awesome. Yes, I would say the most impactful is your relationship with money and to help remove money blocks. Because when your unconscious is telling you to do one thing and your conscious is telling you to do something else, your unconscious usually wins. And so, improving your relationship with money and eliminating and overcoming money blocks, your business can really excel and you can move into building the dream business you have always wanted.
And that's exactly why we're in it. And I couldn't have said that any better. So thank you so much, Linda, for being able and willing to come out here and talk about this because sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, but you did a great job kind of explaining what those are. And once again, take advantage of this opportunity, everyone. Take advantage of the assessment and grab that 30-minute call with Linda so that you can kind of get an understanding and start to inspire the possibilities that are at your fingertips that you may not even realize are there. Thanks, everyone. And keep in mind, it is definitely your time to excel. Take care, everyone.
Bye.